I have right here a 1978 vintage Greco SE 700 in white. It's just a lovely guitar, all original, looking good for so many years, 47 years, 46 years being around. And over here, I have a 2001 Squier. Now, of course, the Greco was made in Japan. The Squier is made in China. This is a Squier SE. The body, well, we'll talk about the woods and materials a little bit later. But basically, the body and the neck and everything are just the same dimensions that you would find on the Greco. Although you'd find that this Squier neck is a little less chunky, I think, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's talk about them individually. You know, the craftsmanship is top-notch on this. The Japanese are well-renowned for the exceptional build quality and attention to detail that these guitars have to offer. Meticulous construction was used to put this together by hand, by the way. These are handcrafted guitars during that time, and it shows. I always talk about guitars of this quality having a certain gravitas to them when you hold them in your hands. You know you have a quality instrument in your hand. And certainly with this, you have yourself a fantastic example of a vintage Japanese guitar. It has the classic look and feel, to be honest with you. In white, you can't really go wrong. That really is desirable for collectors. And the sound of this guitar through these XL pickups really deliver a very warm, rich vintage tone. So much so that guys are really out there seeking, I think, in all the different pickups that they swap out. I think they're trying to find, most of them, this vintage tone that these XLs give really already out of the box. So a fantastic guitar in that regard all the way around. Known for being a budget-friendly entry-level guitar into the Fender family, the Squier, over many iterations in many different countries. They started in Japan. There are Squiers that were made in Japan as well, ironically by the same guys who made this Greco, but we'll talk about that another time. But in China, I think they kind of hit their stride very early. Some of the 90s, 1997 through early 2000s, like this one, Squiers are really considered by most pro guitar players to be excellent instruments, all on their own. And this one certainly is no different from that. This came from a starter pack. This is a SE Squier. SE 100. It came from a starter pack. I had to re-neck it, but the neck comes from the exact same factory within 6 months of this body. So it's essentially been restored back to its original condition completely. So this is a good example of a 2001 Squier SE. And I think that even though this was a $199 starter pack guitar, I think that they hit the ball out of the park with these. And it's actually one of the most affordable ways to get that classic Stratocaster sound out there. So it has that going for it. This one is generally easy to play. This neck is very comfortable. It's nowhere near as chunky as the Greco. And it's got a slightly different radius on it. But I would say that they're both comfortable to play for me. I'm not too picky when it comes to Strat necks. Not too thin, not too thick on this one. So a nice neck on these Squier SE 100s from 2001, I would say. Also, a guitar like this makes a great mod platform. I would not touch a hair on this Greco here sitting next to me. But quite frankly, this one, I wouldn't feel bad about making changes on it. However, the pickups in this guitar are also not bad at all. So much so that there are recordings out there by popular artists that used actually Squier Strat pickups from this same period of time. So again, they were really putting their foot in it when they were pumping these out in the late 90s and the early 2000s, and they were trying to impress. And they did a fantastic job with this, I think. Now, one of the cons, of course, is going to be the build quality. I'm not going to even begin to pretend like the build quality on this guitar is anywhere near to the Greco here next to me. However, that said, it is not bad at all. This guitar is from 2001. It stood up 23 years of just doing it, and it still looks and plays great. So there's a little bit of quality there. Sound quality may be another con to some because, frankly speaking, as much as these, as I said, are not bad pickups, the XLs over here in the Greco are far superior. There is a noticeable difference. As a matter of fact, this Greco, as I've said before, is the strattiest Strat that I've ever played. But these are no slouch. For a beginner or intermediate player, I think that this would do just fine. Resale value on this, even though this is an older Squier, it's still going to run about the same price as a modern Squier in the resale market, quite frankly. There are guys who do know the value of these guitars and know that these are great Squiers. If you find that buyer, they'll pay a little bit more, but not as much as you would get on a resale value on the Greco here behind me. And of course, this is a true vintage guitar. This one is not. So there is that factor to consider as well. Now, the Squier is dependable for its price range, but at the end of this, it is quite evident that it is nowhere near to the price quality that you're getting over here on the Greco. The materials, the craftsmanship are far superior on the Japanese-made guitar. Now, as I've stated, I'm making a kind of offhand comparison with these two guitars versus a Fender Player 2. I think that certainly a Fender Player 2 is going to, again, for the same reasons as the Greco, be a superior quality instrument over this older Squier. But compared to the Greco, something like the Fender Player 2, as I've pointed out before, is no match. I think that you're getting more value, a better quality guitar, and more of what I said. It's got that gravitas on it. And it being a vintage instrument, even saying Greco as opposed to Fender, quite frankly, that is, even for headstock snobs, is not going to be an issue. So there is that. So really today I just wanted to talk about these two instruments and try to make a comparison between the two of them. A lot of people out there talk about Squiers are as good as Japanese guitars, but Japanese guitars are not as good as Fenders, and actually they've kind of got that the other way around. You know, honestly speaking, I think that if you can, it really would behoove you to, again, buy in the secondhand market. There's a lot of great used guitars. These are two examples here behind me that I found. You can find them as well. It's a better deal than out there on the new market as far as I'm concerned in a lot of ways. This one, even though it doesn't compare in terms of the quality and craftsmanship, from a budget standpoint, for those on a tight budget, this is really going to do you. It's going to be a great, fantastic guitar for you to do what you have to do. And again, you can mod it up to make it sound like anything that you want to when your budget gets a little bit bigger. So again, this guitar has a slight advantage, in my opinion, in that regard. Well, it's not even a slight one, it's a big one these days, over something like a Fender Player 2. I would go for a used old Squier like this one over a Fender Player 2 for the different reasons that I would go over this Greco over that same guitar. In conclusion, if you're a collector of vintage guitars, then the Greco is a fantastic choice. With unmatched quality and tone, I don't think that you're going to find a better vintage instrument out there that is not going to break the bank. If you're a beginner on a budget, this 2001 Squier really is reliable, and it's probably your best affordable option in my opinion. For those who are on a budget and want to get a good quality guitar, something older in the Squier range like this will do you. Or if you got the budget, maybe you might want to look at this guitar here, the Greco SE 700 or 800 or even a 600. Anything above 600 is pretty good in terms of craftsmanship and quality. But you would take a look at this because, again, not only does it have the benefit of superior craftsmanship and parts, mind you, it has the very attractive stamp of being a vintage instrument as well. And also, you're going to save a little bit of money too. You can find these for a little bit less than the Fender Player 2 as well. So it's something to think about. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's show and this little bit of information about these two guitars. It was not exactly the verses that maybe you thought it was going to be. It was more of getting you to take a look at the secondhand market and consider it for yourself. And it was to really get you to take a look at the secondhand market and consider for yourself the value that can be found there as opposed to stuff that is on the new market. And I think you would be pleasantly surprised at what you can find, and your wallet certainly will be pleasantly surprised. All right, guys, that's it. And until the next one, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, I would like to encourage you to do so. If you like this type of content and like to see more of it, hit the subscription button. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I think that I can do that with a little help from my friends, and I would certainly like to have you join this community. If you also are subscribed and you like today's show, don't forget to hit the like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm so that I can hit that goal of 5,000 subscribers. And until the next one, you guys take care. Bye-bye.